Of Training and co-founder of the New York Teen Shakespeare Intensive. This program is about not just getting out of your head, but also getting into your body. It's a 3-week program. We start with basics, where the students come in with a Shakespeare monologue and a sonnet memorized by heart, something that they have a personal connection to, whatever that means to them. One student's Juliet might be completely different from another student's Juliet when they picked the exact same monologue. But because they're two different people and two different creative beings, they're going to have a different interaction with that text. And so we start to dive deep into that, what it is for them as actors.
I'm Daniel Strausman, and I did this program twice. Back in 2012, when I first did the program, it was when I was entering high school, and it was really the first time I did real intensive acting training. And it was more than a kid workshop. And it was learning real techniques for real working actors in the industry. It's not only getting a chance to see other professional working actors teach you, but it's also a chance to treat your peers in a way that's professional.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle. I am a junior in high school. I attend school here in New York City, and I attended the New York Teen Shakespeare Intensive last year. Me and my friend, we go to the same high school. We attended the intensive together, and I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna cling to her the entire time for the entirety of the program. And then the second day, I didn't even stand to that. I was already making new friends, already going to lunch with everyone, like getting lunch, rushing back so I could eat with everyone and have fun. It turned out like I made some really meaningful friendships, and it's like people that I don't necessarily live close to, but I'll always stay in contact with. We always have these memories that we've curated over the summer, and it's just unforgettable.
C'est l'heure où le lion rugit et où le loup hurle à la lune, où ronfle le laboureur engourdi, reclus de sa tâche importune. C'est l'heure où les tisons rougeoient et où la chouette, au cri strident, rappelle aux malheureux sans joie que c'est le linceul qui l'attend. Voici venue l'heure de nuit où les tombeaux, ouvrant leurs pierres, laissent échapper leurs esprits, errent près de cimetières, et où nous, les fées, qui fuyons sur le char de la triple hécate, le soleil et tous ses rayons, poursuivant l'ombre comme un rêve, siguiendo a las sombras como un sueño, following darkness like a dream. Following darkness like a dream.
cual relámpago que en la noche oscura alumbra en su arrebato cielo y tierra. Y antes de que puedas decir mira, lo devoran las fauces de las sombras. Así de rápido perecen ilusiones.
Todo parece menudo y borroso, cual lejanas montañas que semejan nubes.
Methinks I see these things with parted eye, when everything seems double.
Moi aussi. Et Démétrius est pour moi comme un bijou trouvé. Il est à moi, mais il n'est pas à moi.
Are you sure that we're awake? It seems to me that yet we sleep, we dream. Do not you think the Duke was here and bid us follow him?
Yea, and my father.
Why then, we are awake. Let's follow him.
Full of vexation come I, with complaint against my child, my daughter Hermia. Stand forth, Demetrius.
What say you, Hermia? Get wise, fair maid. To you, your father should be as a god, one that composed your beauties, yea, and one to whom you are but as a form in wax, by him imprinted, and within his power to leave the figure or disfigure it. Demetrius is a worthy gentleman.
So is Lysander.
Demetrius shall avouch it to his head, made love to neither his daughter Helena, and won her soul, and she, sweet lady, dotes, devoutly dotes in idolatry upon this spotted and inconstant man.
Relent, sweet Hermia. Lisandro, somete tu falaz pretensión a mi claro derecho.
Demetrio, tú ya tienes el amor de su padre. Tenga yo el de Hermia. Do you marry him?
Oh, I beseech your grace, that I may know the worst that may befall me in this case, if I refuse to wed Demetrius.
Either to die the death, or to abjure forever the society of men.
Therefore, fair Hermia, question your desires. Know of your youth, examine well your blood, whether, if you yield not to your father's choice, you may endure the livery of a nun. For I to be changing cloister nude, to live a barren sister all your life, chanting faint hymns to the cold, fruitless moon.
Come, Demetrius, go along.
With duty and desire, I follow you.
How now, my love, why is your cheek so pale? How chance the roses there do fade so fast?
Belike for want of rain, which I could well beteem them from the tempest of my eyes.
Oh me, for all that ever I could read, could ever hear by tale or history, the course of true love never did run smooth. But if it was different in blood,
Oh, cross too high to be enthralled to low.
or else misgrafted in respect of
Oh,
years,
spite too old to be engaged to young.
or else it stood upon the choice of merit,
Oh, hell to choose love by another's eyes.
or if there were sympathy in choice, war, death, or sickness did lay siege to it, making it momentary as a sound, swift as a shadow, short as any dream, brief as the lightning in the cold night, that in a spleen unfolds both heaven and earth. And ere a man hath power to say, behold, the jaws of darkness to devour it up. So quick, bright things come to confusion. My gentle Hermia, if thou lovest me then, steal for thy father's house tomorrow night, and in the wood, a league without the town, there will I stay for thee.
Mi buen Lisandro, by all the vows that ever men have broke, in number more than ever women spoke, Te juro que en ese lugar que me has dicho, mañana sin falta me veré contigo.
Comme certains sont plus heureux que d'autres. On pense par ici que je suis aussi belle qu'elle. Mais qu'importe. Démétrius ne le pense pas.
Démétrius ne le pense pas.
Il ne veut pas savoir ce que tous savent excepté lui. Et même qu'il divague, idolâtrant les yeux d'Hermia, moi aussi je divague, admirant ses qualités à lui. Des choses basses et viles.
Des choses basses.
Exemple de beauté. L'amour peut leur donner et forme et dignité. Je vais lui révéler la fuite de la belle. Demain soir, il ira la traquer dans les bois. Et si de cette nouvelle il va jusqu'à me remercier, de ma peine, je ne serai guère payée. Mais je pourrai ainsi enrichir mon chagrin à l'aller. Au retour, du moins, je le verrai.
Ill-met by moonlight, proud Titania.
What, jealous Oberon? Fairy, skip hence. I have sworn his bed.
Tarry, rash wanton. Am not I thy lord?
Then I must be thy lady. But I know when thou was stolen away from fairyland, and in the shape of corn sat all day, playing on pipes of corn and versing love to amorous Phillida. Why art thou here? Come thou from the farthest steep of India. But that, forsooth, the burning Amazon, your buskined mistress, and your warrior love, to Theseus must be wedded. And you come to give their bed joy and prosperity?
How canst thou thus for shame, Titania, glance at my credit with Hippolyta, knowing I know thy love for Theseus? Didst not thou lead him through the glimmering night from Perigenia, whom he ravished, and made him with fair Eagles break his faith with Ariadne and Antiopa?
These are the forgeries of jealousy. And ever since the middle summer spring, have we met on hill or dale, forest or mead to dance our ringlets to the whistling wind. But with thy brawls,
thou hast disturbed our sport. Therefore the winds, piping to us in vain as in revenge, have sucked up from the sea contagious fogs, which, falling in the land, have made every pelting river made so proud that they have overborne their continents. The ox, therefore, has stretched his yoke in vain. The plowman lost his sweat, and the green corn hath rotted ere his youth attained a beard. The fold stands empty in the drowned field, and crows are fatted with the Murrian flock. The 9 men's morass is filled up with mud, and the quaint mazes and the wanton green, for lack of tread, are undistinguishable. The human mortals want their winter here. No night is now with him, or carol blessed. Therefore the moon, the governess of floods, pale in her anger, washes all the air that rheumatic diseases do abound. And through this distemperature, we see the seasons alter. The spring, the summer, the childing autumn, the angry winter change their wonted liveries. And the mazed world, by their increase, now knows not which is which. And the same progeny of evils comes from our debate, from our dissension. We are their parents and original.
Do you amend it then? It lies in you. Why should Titania cross her Oberon? I too but beg a little changeling boy to be my henchman.
Set your heart at rest. The fairyland buys not the child of me. His mother was a votress on my order, and in the spiced Indian air by night, full often hath she gossiped by my side, and sat with me on Neptune's yellow sands, marking the embarked traders of the flood. And we have laughed to see the sails conceive, and grow big-bellied with the wanton wind, which she, with pretty and swinging gait following, her womb then rich with my young squire, would imitate and sail across the land to fetch me trifles and return again. But she, being mortal, of that boy did die, and for her sake I do rear up her boy, and for her sake I will not part with him.
How long within this wood intend you stay?
Perchance till after Theseus' wedding day. If you will patiently dance in our round and see our moonlight revels go with us. If not, shun me, and I will spare your haunts.
Give me that boy, and I will go with thee.
Not for thy fairy kingdom. Fairies away!
Go thy way. Thou shalt not from this grove, till I torment thee for this injury. My gentle Puck, come hither. Fetch me that flower, the herb I showed thee once. The juice of it, on sleeping eyelids laid, will make or man or woman madly dote upon the next live creature that it sees. Fetch me this flower, and be thou here again ere the Leviathan can swim a league.
J'enroulerai une ceinture autour de la terre en 40 minutes.
Having once this juice, I'll watch Titania while she's asleep and drop the liquor of it in her eyes. The next thing that she waking looks upon, be it lion, bear, wolf, or bull, on meddling monkey or on busy ape, she shall pursue it with the soul of love. And ere I take this charm from off her sight, I'll make her render up her boy to me.
I love thee not, therefore pursue me not. Where is Lysander and fair Hermia? The one I'll slay, the other slayeth me. Thou toldst me there was stolen to this wood, and here am I, and word within this wood, because I cannot meet my Hermia. Hence, get thee gone, and follow me no more.
You draw me, you hardened adamant.
Do I entice you? Do I speak you fair? Or do I not in plainest truth tell you I do not, nor I cannot love you?
And even for that do I love you the more. I am your spaniel, and Demetrius, the more you beat me, I will fawn on you. Use me, but as your spaniel. Spurn me, strike me, neglect me, lose me. Only give me leave, unworthy as I am, to follow you. What worse a place can I beg in your love, and yet a place of high respect with me, than to be used as you use your dog?
Tempt not too much the hatred of my spirit, for I am sick when I do look on thee.
And I am sick when I look not on you.
You do impeach your modesty too much. To leave the city and commit yourself into the hands of one who loves you not. To trust the opportunity of night and the ill counsel of a desert place with the rich worth of your virginity.
Your virtue is my privilege. For that, it is not night when I do see your face. Therefore, I think I'm not in the night, nor doth this wood lack worlds of company. For you and my respect are all the world. Then how can it be said I'm all alone when all the world is here to look on me?
I'll run from thee and hide me in the breaks, and leave thee to the mercy of wild beasts.
The wildest have not such a heart as you.
I will not stay thy questions. Let me go! Or, if thou follow me, do not believe, but I shall do thee mischief in the wood.
Hélas! Au temple, à la ville, à la campagne, vous me faites outrage. Oh, Démétrius, your wrongs do set a scandal on my sex. We shouldn't fight for love as many.
We should be wooed and we're not made to
Nuit et silence. Et ici la jeune fille profondément endormie sur la terre humide et sale. Russe! Sur tes yeux, je répands ce sortilège tout-puissant. Puisse l'amour, à ton réveil, chasser de tes yeux le sommeil.
Help me, Lysander, help me! Do thy best to pluck this crawling serpent from my breast! I mean, for pity, what a dream was here! Lysander, look how I do quake with fear. Methought a serpent ate my heart away, and you sat smiling at its cruel prey. Lysander, what, removed? Lysander! Lord! What, out of hearing? Gone, no sound, no word? Alack, where are you? Speak! And if you hear, speak of all loves. I swoon almost with fear. No? Then I well perceive you are not nigh. Either death or you I'll find immediately.
Je suis essoufflée de cette folle poursuite. Mais qui est là? Lysandre à même le sol, mort ou endormi? Je ne vois ni son ni blessure. Lysander, Lysander, good sir, if you live, awake!
And run through fire I will for thy sweet sake. Transparent Helena, nature shows art, and through thy bosom makes me see thy heart. Where is Demetrius? Oh, how fit a word is that vile name to perish on my sword!
Do not say so! Lysander, say not so. What though you love your Hermia? Lord, what though? Yet, Hermia still loves you. Then be content.
Content with Hermia? No, I do repent the tedious minutes I with her have spent. Not Hermia, but Helena, I love, who will not change a raven for a dove. The will of man is by his reason swayed, and reason says you're the worthier maid. Things growing are not right until their season. So I, being young till now, right not to reason, and touching now the point of human skill, reason becomes the marshal to my will, and leads me to your eyes, where I look, love stories written in love's richest book.
Wherefore was I to this keen mockery born? When at your hands did I deserve this scorn? Good troth, you do me wrong, good sooth you do, in such disdainful manner me to woo. But fare you well, I thought the Lord of more true gentleness. Huh? Oh, that a lady would refuse the should of another, therefore be abused.
Ojalá, Hermia, ya nunca te me acerques, pues igual que un exceso de golosinas las hace enojosas y hasta repulsivas. O cual las herejías que se abandonan, que quien más las amaba más las odia. A ti, toda mi herejía y mi dulce exceso, y todos se aborrezcan y yo más que ellos. Ahora consagro mi amor y energías a ser caballero de Helena y seguirla.
¿Para qué seguirla con tanto arrebato?
Más vale que aquí me tome un descanso. La pena es un peso que crece y se agrava si el sueño su deuda con ella no paga. Ahora una parte podré devolverla. Y yo aceptaré lo que el sueño ofrezca.
Ruste! Sur tes yeux, je répands ce sortilège tout-puissant. Puisse l'amour à ton réveil chasser de tes yeux le sommeil. Éveille-toi quand je serai loin, car Oberon, je te rejoins.
Why should you think that I should woe in scorn? The scorn of the rich should never come in tears. Look, when I vow, I weep. And vow so born in their nativity, all truth appears. How can these things in me seem scorn to you? Wearing the badge of faith to prove them true?
You do advance your cunning more and more. When truth kills truth, oh, devilish holy fray! These vows are Hermia's, will you give her o'er? Weigh oath with oath, you will nothing weigh, and your vows to her and me put in two scales will even weigh, and both as light as tails.
I had no judgment when to her I swore.
Nor none in my mind, now you give her o'er.
Demetrius loves her, and he loves not you.
Helena. Goddess. Nymph. Perfect. Divine. To what, my love, should I compare thine eye? Crystal is muddy. Oh, how ripe in show thy lips, those kissing the cherry's tempting grow.
Oh, spite! Oh, hell! I see you all are bent to set against me for your merriment. If you're civil and you courtesy, you would not do me thus much injury. Can you not hate me as I know you do? But you must join in souls to mock me too. You both are rivals and love Hermia, and now both rivals to mock Helena.
Ya basta, Demetrio, no seas tan cruel. Pues amas a Hermia, sabes que lo sé. Yo aquí, con el corazón de buen grado de Hermia, te cedo mi parte de amor. Cédeme tú a mí tu parte de Helena, a la que amaré hasta que me muera.
Never did mockers waste more idle breath.
Para ti toda tu Hermia, buen Lisandro. Si una vez la amé, es amor pasado. Mi amor con ella fue cual fugaz viajero que ahora ya por siempre con Helena ha vuelto para ahí quedarse.
Helen, it is not so.
No denigres la lealtad que tú no entiendes. Es un riesgo que podría costarte caro. Mírala, ahí viene. Tu amor ha llegado.
Dark night that from the eye his function takes, the ear more quick of apprehension makes. Wherein it doth impair the seeing sense, it pays the hearing double recompense. Thou art not by mine eye, Lysander, found, mine ear, I thank it, brought me to thy sound. But why, unkindly, didst thou leave me so?
Why should he stay whom love doth press to go?
What love could press Lysander from my side?
Lysander's love that would not let him bide. Fair Helena, who more enguiles the night than all you fiery oaths and eyes of light. Why sitst thou? Could not this make thee know the hate I bear thee may believe thee so?
You speak not as you think it cannot be. No! She is one of this confederacy. No, I perceive. They have conjoined all three to fashion this false sport in spite of me. Injurieuse Hermia, ingrate jeune fille, avez-vous conspiré, avez-vous comploté avec eux pour me harceler de cette ignoble dérision? Oh, tous les secrets que nous avons partagés ensemble, nos serments de sœurs et les heures passées ensemble, lorsque nous reprochions autant de bien rapide de nous séparer, tout cela est-il oublié? Et vous voulez déchirer notre amour ancienne et vous joindre à des hommes? Vous joindre à des hommes pour narguer notre pauvre ami? Ce n'est pas amical, ce n'est pas virginal et notre sexe, autant que le mien de vous le jurer, même si je suis la seule à ressentir l'injure.
Vos paroles furieuses me frappent de stupeur. Je ne vous nargue pas, il me semble que c'est vous qui m'y narguez.
N'est-ce pas vous qui avez incité Lisandre comme pour me narguer à me suivre et inventer mes yeux et mon visage. Vous qui avez incité votre autre maman, Démétrius, qui tout à l'heure encore me repoussait du pied à m'appeler déesse, divine, précieuse, rare, céleste, nymphe. Pourquoi dit-il cela à celle qu'il déteste? Et pourquoi encore Lisandre rejette-t-il votre amour dont son cœur est si riche et m'offre-t-il ma foi, sa tendresse, si ce n'est à votre instigation et avec votre accord? Et qui puis-je, si je ne suis pas aussi favorisée que vous, aussi bien entourée, aussi heureuse, et si j'ai le malheur extrême d'aimer sans être aimée, vous devriez m'en plaindre et non me mépriser.
I understand not what you mean by this.
I do persever counterfeit sad looks, make mouths upon me when I turn my back. Wink each at other, hold the sweet jest up. This sport well carried shall be chronicled. And if you had any pity, grace, or manners, you would not make me such an argument, but fare you well. 'Tis partly my own fault, which death or absence soon shall remedy.
Stay! Gentle Helena, hear my excuse. My love, my life, my soul, fair Helena.
Oh, excellent.
Sweet, do not scorn her so.
If she cannot entreat, I can compel.
Ni tú vas a obligarme ni esta a convencerme. Más que sus ruegos no podrán tus amenazas. Helen, I love thee by my life I do. I swear by that which I will lose for thee. The proof being false that says I love thee not.
I say I love you more than he can do.
If thou say so, withdraw and prove it too.
Vamos, pronto.
Lysander, where to tackle this?
Oh, hang off, thou cat! Thou boar, my feet let loose, or I will shake thee from me like a serpent.
Why are you grown so rude? What changes this, sweet love?
I love out. Oh, the loathed medicine, hidden potion hands.
Do not just.
Demetrio!
Mantengo mi palabra. Quisiera darte a ella al ver tu débil atadura. No me fío de tu palabra.
¿Cómo? ¿Quieres que le pegue, la hiera, la mate? Although I hate her, I'll not harm her so.
What? Can you do me greater harm than hate? Hate me? Wherefore? Oh, me! What news, my love? Am not I Hermia? Or not you, Lysander? I am as fair now as I was erewhile. Since night you loved me. Yes, since night you loved me. Why then you left me. Oh, the gods forbid. Honest, shall I say?
Sí, por mi vida. I never did desire to see you more. Therefore be out of hope, of question, of doubt. Be certain, nothing true or 'tis no jest that I do hate thee. And love, Helena!
Nay, you juggler, you canker blossom, you thief of love. What, have you come by night and stolen my love's heart from him?
Vraiment, c'est admirable. Êtes-vous sans pudeur virginale? Êtes-vous sans vergogne, sans retenue? Quoi, vous voulez arracher les paroles véhémentes à ma douce langue? Fie, you counterfeit, you puppet, you hubbet!
Why so? That way goes the game. Now I perceive that she hath made compare between our statures. She hath urged her height, and with her personage, her tall personage, her height forsooth, she hath prevailed with him. And are you grown so high in his esteem, because I am so dwarfish and so low? How low am I, thou painted maple? Speak! How low am I? I'm not yet so low but that my nails get right into thine eye.
I pray you, though you mock me, gentlemen, let her not strike me. You perhaps may think because she's something lower than myself that I can match her.
Lower her again!
Mon Hermia, ne soyez pas si amère avec moi. Je vous ai toujours aimé, Hermia. Je n'ai jamais trahi vos secrets, ne vous ai jamais causé de tort. Save that in love unto Demetrius. I told him of your stealth into the woods. He followed you. For love, I followed him. But he hath shook me hands and threatened me to spurn me, strike me, nay, to kill me too.
She shall not harm thee, Helena.
No, no lo hará, aunque te pongas de su parte.
Oh, when she's angry, she's keen and shrewd. She was a victim when she went to school, and though she be but little, she's fierce.
Little again! Nothing but love and little! Why would you suffer her to flout me thus? Let me
get your gun, you dwarf! You dare not cross me! You acorn!
¡Qué obsequioso eres en favor de quien desprecia tus servicios! Déjala en paz. No hables de Elena ni te pongas de su parte, pues al más leve gesto de amor por ella lo pagarás.
Ahora ya no me sujeta. Ok, sígueme y veremos, cabrón. A ver quién tiene más derecho al amor de Elena.
¿Seguirte? A tire pegado.
You, mistress, all this coil is long of you. Nay, go not back.
Je ne vous fais pas confiance, moi. Et ne resterez pas plus longtemps votre maudite compagnie. Your hands than mine are quicker for a fray. My legs are longer, though, to run away.
I am amazed, and know not what to say.
More strange than true. I never may believe these antique fables, nor these fairy toys. Lovers and madmen have such seething brains, such shaping fantasies that apprehend more than cool reason ever comprehends. The lunatic, the lover, and the poet are of imagination all compact. One sees more devils than vast hell can hold. That is, the lover, the madman, sees Helen's beauty and a brow of Egypt. The poet's eye, in fine frenzy rolling, doth glance from heaven to earth, from earth to heaven. And as imagination bodies forth the forms of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them to shapes and gives to airy nothing a local habitation and a name. Such tricks hath strong imagination, that if it would but apprehend some joy, it comprehends some bringer of that joy. Or in the night, imagining some fear, how easy is a bush supposed to bear.
Welcome, wanderer. Is not the flower there?
Oui, la voici. I pray thee, give it me.
What thou seest, when thou dost wake, do it for thy true love take.
love and languish for his sake, be it ouse or cat or bear, pard or boar with bristled hair, in thine eye that shall appear when thou wakest, it is thy dear. Wake when some vile thing is near.
What angel wakes me from my flowery bed? I pray thee, gentle mortal, sing again. Mine ear is much enamored to thy note, so is mine eye, enthralled to thy shape. And thy fair virtue's force perforce doth move me to say, to swear, I love thee. I am a spirit of no common rate, and the summer still doth tend upon my state, and I do love thee, therefore go with me. I shall give thee fairies to attend on thee, and they shall fetch thee jewels from the deep, and sing while thou on pressed flowers sleep. And I shall purge thy mortal grossness so, that thou shalt like an airy spirit ghost. The moon, methinks, looks with a watery eye, and when she weeps, weeps every little flower, lamenting unenforced chastity. Tie up my love's tongue, bring him silently.
Oh, my love's tongue, bring him oh, my love's tongue, free him.
haunted grove.
My mistress with the monster is in love.
This falls out better than I could devise.
So far blameless proves my enterprise.
Seest thou this sweet sight? Her dotage now I do begin to pity. I did upbraid her and fall out with her when I had at my pleasure taunted her, and she in mild terms begged my patience. I then did ask her chargeling child, which straight she gave me. And now I have the boy. I will undo this hateful imperfection of her eyes, and think no more of this night's accidents, but as the fierce vexation of a dream. Be as thou was wont to be. See as thou was wont to see. Dian's bud or Cupid's flower hath such force and blessed power. And now, Titania, wake you, my sweet queen.
Prithee, my love. Go away with me.
Where is the boy? Lo. Now I see the issue of your peace.
Patience, good queen, comfort, gentle Titania.
No, I defy all counsel, all redress, but that which ends all counsel, true redress. Death, oh amiable, lovely death, thou odoriferous stench, sound rottenness, arise forth from the couch of lasting night, thou hate and terror to prosperity.
Oh, fair affliction, peace.
No, I will not, having breath to cry. Oh, that my tongue is in the thunder's mouth, and with a passion will I shake the world, and rouse from sleep that fell anatomy, which cannot hear a lady's feeble voice, which scorns a modern invocation.
You are as fond of grief as of your child!
Grief fills the room up of my absent child! I say the earth was not of my mind. If you suppose it is fearing you, it shook.
The heavens were all on fire. The earth did tremble.
Oh, then the earth shook to see the heavens on fire, and not in fear of your nativity. Diseased nature oftentimes breaks forth in strange eruptions off the teeming earth, as with a kind of colic pinched and vexed, the imprisoning of unruly wind. Within her womb, which for enlargement striving, shakes the old bedlam earth and topples down steeples and moss-grown towers. At your birth, our grand down earth, having this distemperature, and passion shook.
Fairy Queen, attend and mark. I do hear the morning lark. Then my queen in silence sat, trip we after the night's shade. We the globe can compass soon, swifter than the wandering moon.
If we shadows have offended, think but this, and all is mended. That you have but slumbered here, whilst these visions did appear. And this weak and idle theme, no more yielded, but a dream.
Gentles, not reprehend. If you pardon, we will mend. And as I am an honest puck, if we have unearned luck, how to escape the serpent's tongue, we will make amends ere long. Else the puck a liar call. So good night unto you all. Give me your hands if we be friends, and Robin shall restore amends.
At the end of week 1, we then cast them in scenes for them to work on for the next 2 weeks. If a student comes in and is always cast as the ingenue or the hero, we're probably going to cast them as something different, something opposite, so they get to feel what that experience is like for them in their body. We're not interested in what they can already do. We're interested in stretching them for the next step, to take them to the next level of their training and their journey.
I got casted as Catherine in Taming of the Shrew, and at first I read it and I was like, no they didn't. Like they knew my personality and they gave me a scene that was the exact opposite of my personality. My first reaction was fear. I was like, I'm gonna embarrass myself in front of everyone and everyone's parents. My partner was this boy I just met 2 days ago, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I have such a physical scene, such a long scene with this person that I don't really know that well. But then I started working on it, I got help, and at the end, when it was time to perform, it was one of my favorite parts of the performance overall. It was something I enjoyed doing. I looked forward to rehearsing it every day just because I got to work on something that wasn't really me as a person. And it was just it just felt like I was fulfilling a part of me that I had never really fulfilled before. I'm more of a closed person, I close myself off sometimes, but Catherine isn't, a closed off person. So I got to really embody all the things that I wanted to be as a person and that I now am.
They have Shakespeare text class every single day, whether if it be through their sonnet, their monologue, or their duet scene. But all around that, they're also having Linklater voice technique, clown, fight, viewpoints movement, Michael Chekhov acting technique. They even have a master class with Mary Lynn Henry, who literally wrote the book on how to be a working actor.
The program really gave me a leg up when I was entering into training because I wasn't thrown into the abyss. I was able to have a good groundwork to be able to take the things that school was giving me and acting, a real college acting program, what they were giving me, and I was able to synthesize it, already having this experience and already having a basis of technique.
We've been doing this intensive for over 10 years, and I have yet to meet a student who does not fully dive in, full force, full tilt boogie, and does not love it.
We all had a newfound love for Shakespeare. I've seen so many people who love Shakespeare off the bat, and I was like, I hate that I can't appreciate this work as much as I should because I don't fully understand it. But then coming into this program, I was able to learn so many things from different perspectives, from my classmates, from our teachers. It was just so surreal and so beneficial to me in and out of my schooling, so it was just amazing.
I have this phrase I always use with the participants to throw pasta at the wall, and we're gonna throw 100 pieces and let's see what sticks. 98 of them are gonna fall off, but 2 of them, and we're looking for those 2, that stick, what works. And through that process, they fail gloriously and they succeed gloriously, and they gather information of what works and doesn't work for them to move forward in their process.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for watching the Dream Project 3.0 Montreal. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm Megan Shadler. I'm the Administrative Director of Yonder Window Theater Company, and I will be moderating today's Q&A. I was on the production team for the Dream Project 3.0 as well, so I will also be accepting any questions you have. For those of you who are not familiar with us and our work, I want to say welcome. Yonder Window is an international theater company with members spread out all across the world. The Dream Project is one of our best examples of our dedication to cross-cultural exploration. I will let you ask the questions, but to give you a little background, the Dream Project is a devised version of Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, which you might have noticed. The Dream Project was first developed in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, in 2017. In 2018, it was reimagined once again in Brooklyn, New York. And finally, the third version, the one that you just watched, premiered for audiences in Montreal, Quebec, October 2019. Each iteration featured company members from Mexico, Canada, and the United States. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce them to you. So first, I'd like to introduce Yonder Window Theater Company Artistic Director, Katie McHugh. Katie is a creator and director of the Dream Project and is currently based. Hi, Katie. Next, Nicholas Aguilar, the music director of the Dream Project 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. Nicholas created the entire soundscape of the Dream Project, much of which was played live during the show. He is based in Mexico City, Mexico. Next, welcome Hugo Luna. Hugo played Lysander in the Dream Project 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. He is currently based in Mexico City as well. Next, let's welcome Elke Van Dyke. Elke has been with the Dream Project since its first creation. She was Titania. Yes, original Inception. She was Titania in 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0, and is currently based in Brooklyn, New York. And finally, please welcome Katarina Pio. Katarina was one of the incredible fairies that dazzled you from the air in the Dream Project 3.0. Katarina is calling in today from Montreal. So welcome, everyone. We're all connecting from 3 different countries, which I think is pretty awesome. How is everyone?
It was so fun to see the video again.
Yeah.
Some of us actually watched it for the first time.
Yeah.
It was really great. Hugo, Kat, and Nikki all watched it for the first time since October. So that's really exciting to be able to share that today with you guys.
Yeah, and that was the first time we've ever released this video to the public and shared it with anyone outside of the audience that was there in Montreal. So I'm just going to jump into questions, and I'm going to start with one that I think is a pretty good one to start with. This is from Miles Harrison, who asked this question on Facebook. What was some of the inspiration to tell the story this way? I think, Katie, that's a good question to start with.
Yeah, that's a good one. Hi, Miles. I'm so glad you asked that question. I would want to start with the short answer, which is that this project is a cross-cultural collaboration. And so it's not just the 3.0 that you watched that went into the story, but all of the iterations that Megan mentioned, 1.0 and 2.0. And so at this point, when you saw 3.0, it's a 3-year process. And so we began telling the story in Mexico when we went to San Miguel de Allende in 2017. And the story actually started with cultural conversations between all 3 countries, from people from all of those countries. And we started talking about the current cultural climate and what was happening in each of our settings. We talked about art forms in our different countries and cultures. We talked many hours. Actually, the very first day we met, many of us had not ever met each other before. So we just really started conversing about these things. And then we started talking about what in Midsummer Night's Dream inspired us vis-a-vis these conversations. And so we started talking about the story of Titania and Oberon and how their conflict was very much like the conflict that we were going through in North America. And we started using their conflict as an allegory to use as a base for our storyline. So if you notice in 3.0, once we went through several iterations, the story was very clearly about Titania and Oberon and their relationship and what they go through. In 2.0, we were in 2018, and you know what was happening in 2018 especially with the U.S. and we went a little darker. Mexico, our Mexican cast had gone through in the year between 1.0 and 2.0 a very intense earthquake, and that ended up in the show. And our show has become darker and darker. So our Midsummer Night's Dream is not a comedy. It has comedic moments, but we've gone a bit darker with it based on the conversations and the work that we've found throughout the years. But those of you who have been with it from the beginning, I mean, I welcome some feedback on some of that and how we found those darker moments and how we found the story itself.
Well, I think I think a lot of it had to do with what was going on in our world. You mentioned the earthquake, you mentioned, this battle against climate change, and those things are on the lip of everybody's everyday conversations and in their personal lives. And so that in the room when we were talking together, so we couldn't ignore, especially when we think about, well, what does a Midsummer Night's Dream mean to us? What are the themes? What are the themes that reflect to, of our daily lives now? Seems pretty, right?
Yeah, and really I would even go a step further on that, Elka, and say that 3.0 really did arrive in the midst of all of these huge natural disasters, and we did focus very much on the forgeries of jealousy monologue that Elka does in the air, because that talks about the conflict between Titania and Oberon and how it affects the mortal world, and it's all through big natural disasters. And Titania says that this is what's happening because of our conflict. We are having a direct effect on the weather patterns and the crops and the fog, the contagious fog, and these things are mentioned in her speech. And she says that the bouncing Amazon, we actually changed that line to the burning Amazon, because right before we started this project, we had some huge fires in the Amazon, and so we are using what's happening within our current climate to stage this show, and when we do the next iteration of it, it will be even more clear, and we'll have even more moments like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna change now and ask another question. I'm gonna move to talking about the languages of the show. We've had a couple questions about that. So I'm gonna start with Aisha's question. Aisha on Facebook asks, why did you choose to implement different languages into the production?
That's a great question, Aisha. And hi, thanks for watching. We wanted to be true to each of the three cultures that we're working in. So Quebec, we have actors from Quebec, so French comes in. We have actors from Mexico, so and music from Mexico, so Spanish, and then our American cast with the English. And we felt really strongly about this, and we've worked really hard over the 3 iterations to try to have a pretty equal amount of language. I think we're much closer in 3.0 to having a third of each of the languages. English still does take precedence, just simply because the script is in English, and that's it's a little harder to translate into those languages and still keep the verse. So we have had a wonderful dramaturg, Max, who I'm sure was watching today. Hi, Max. And he helped us really work with all of those languages and get the verse correct, and to have a purpose for why the language changes and when and in what character. So if you notice, for instance, Ugo and Evan, when they're Demetrius and Lysander and they're fighting and they're speaking Spanish, every time they get in a fight and they're speaking to each other, it's in Spanish. Every time Helena, who is French speaking, that's her native language, is having a monologue to the audience, a soliloquy, it's in French. Or when she's speaking to herself or to her best friend who does speak French, but that's not her first language. You know, we use that as kind of a playground to add to the fight and add to the interesting moments that happen on stage naturally, and heighten those a little bit with the language. We were not always successful with that. I think we've gotten a lot closer, but I think we still have work to do on that. So yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, I'm gonna direct it to Ugo, who is played Lysander. Ugo, what is it like acting in your native language, English, and then acting with someone who is speaking French, a completely different language?
Well, fortunately, I wasn't. Katie didn't put any French in my dialogues, so that was very helpful. But I mean, for example, the girl who plays Hermia, she had to say a couple of words in Spanish, and it was really hard for her to speak the language. And the same happened the year before with the other actress who was playing Hermia. So, well, at least for me, it was really easy because I've been training, doing Shakespeare for like at least 4 years, so it was not that hard. And but I mean, if I would have been in the situation of doing it in French, probably it would have been way worse. And especially, I guess, to learn the lines would have been really hard. So, yeah.
Yeah. We had another question regarding language. Stephen on Facebook asks, would you or have you ever considered producing a unilingual, so one language, just unilingual version of the Dream Project?
Oh, no, we haven't considered it because this is this particular project is about just as much about the three countries and the three cultures as it is about Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, as it is about the Ariel and the multidisciplines. I mean, we're very true to the original vision, and so I haven't thought about putting it all in Spanish or all in French or all in English. Stephen, you've given us an idea, because I think it would depend on where the show goes. If we had a South American tour and the predominant audience language was Spanish, then maybe we'd consider that. If it was strictly a US tour, or I mean, that is a consideration. I think that's something to keep in mind, depending on where we go. We hope that this show will be touring internationally. We don't know where it will go. We don't know what's going to happen next in our industry at the moment. So we're taking it one day at a time.
Awesome. I'm gonna now switch over and talk a little bit about the music in the production. As I mentioned before, Nicholas is our music director, and he's been on from the beginning, devising the music. So this is a question from Christopher on Facebook. He said, can you discuss the relationship between movement and music development?
Hi, Christopher. Thanks for your question. Thanks for watching. I think one of the most interesting questions out there in terms of the process we've had so far. Um, we've been very interested in working collaboratively from the beginning, in terms of being in the same room, physically present, which is obviously not possible nowadays. But I think that's where the whole nature of the music making process for the Dream Project comes from. Usually, in my experience, it's a unilateral process in terms of most times either as a composer you either work from a set choreography and then put the music to it, or the other way around. No, you compose it first and then the movement happens as a result later on. And I think one of the most valuable and the most enjoyable parts of working on the Dream Project is that the music has come into existence during the same process that the movement has come into existence, if that makes sense. So I'm very adamant about being in the same room while the choreography happens, even while the blocking for the scenes and the acting happens, just because you get a much more organic and real artistic connection between disciplines that way. So I think that's been very interesting to sort of see the music happen in the moment, responding to a specific movement from one of the performers. So someone might, during an improv, raise their right arm, and that will inform the music with like a loud strum from the guitar, to put an example. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe we're improvising like a specific music section, and then that informs the movement, and it becomes like an ensemble piece, everyone running and flying with their arms stretched out, or just to put a couple of examples. That's the sort of magic that happens in the creative process, and I think that's what initially excited us, or at least excited me, about the Dream Project. And it's a very intricate sort of a very profound relationship between movement and music, and it's very enjoyable to be a part of it.
Awesome. Looks like we might have lost one of our panelists, but that's okay. We're trying to get her back. I have a question now from Josephine, who was a part of 2.0, I believe, right? Was she in 1.0 as well? I think she was just in 2.0.
2.0.
Right. What was one of your favorite moments to perform in this iteration? I think this is a great question for Elka and Ugo.
Yeah.
Go, Elka.
Yeah. I've only been in 1.0. I did not do any aerial. In 2.0, I had just started training, just got on the silk for a first time in my life. And, a year and a half later, I'm slightly better and doing it in 3.0. Big shout outs to Joshua Dean and Anna Henry Thomas for coaching me for 3.0. For me, I made a big like a personal push to get some more aerial in my vocabulary, my movement vocabulary. I'm an actor first. I'm a movement teacher second. Definitely a devised movement actor. So aerial is an easy step for me, but it's a lot of hard work. But one of my favorite parts of 3.0, I think, is the new aerial that I did, and especially speaking and moving in the air on the silk at the same time. It's incredibly hard. It's hard enough to speak Shakespeare on the ground and be true to the text, let alone while all this other stuff is going on, like trying not to die and fall from the air. So that was something I really enjoyed working on and pushing forward. I think from 2.0 to 3.0, the bit between Oberon and Titania in the beginning, that's the only time that I speak and fly at the same time. A lot of work has been put into that moment because sometimes the aerial is distracting, and that's not what you want as a theater performance. It's still a piece that I'm very much working on and excited to discover how these two worlds can technically work together on the stage. And then, of course, the storm where I do like these crazy falls, that was just pure fun. Looking forward to do it again.
How about you, Ugo? What was your favorite memory? Because you have been in every iteration of the project as well. So
Well, for me, I think I had more fun this time. Probably, I think the first couple of times I was too worried about the language and doing it correctly and being like, yeah, being very precise on my pronunciation because, well, I am not a native speaker. So it was something that was on the back of my mind all the time. So in Montreal, for some reason, I didn't care much about it. It was just like, I will have fun. I've been with these guys for 3 years and I've been working on this character for 3 years. So I will just enjoy myself and my partner, like all my colleagues. And that's it. I think was the thing that I like the most, that I fun and that I also to reconnect. That it's really interesting to be working with people all this time and not being able to see them for 6 months or a year and then going back and doing the same show but differently and with new people. So it's really beautiful to reconnect with them and it feels like a sort of family, I guess. And I don't know, that's what I felt this time. And I had so much fun with everyone involved. So yeah.
all right, I'm going to ask another question now. William on Facebook asks, given that the production is so progressive in nature and yet pays homage to Shakespeare's original vision in an extremely respectful manner, what were the most challenging aspects in bringing his production into life? I think that's a good one for Katie to start on.
Oh, yeah. All of it. I think that the most challenging for me as a director and perhaps as an ensemble working together was the crossover between the aerial world and the groundwork and how to seamlessly create the story in the air as well as the ground. And I think that the thing that really stood out to me in 3.0 as a big challenge was the level in which we were working in the circus world. We lost Kat, but Kat was one of our very high-level circus performers that was coming into 3.0 for the first time. We've never met her before, and she came into the room, and her and a few other people just really brought a level of circus to the production, including our circus coordinator, who was actually an actor in 2.0, aerialist actor in 2.0, then went on to be our circus coordinator in 3.0, Evan. And we had 5 rigging points, we've had pulley systems, we had just an extraordinary amount of technical aspects to this production that we've never had in the past. And so for me as a director trying to navigate this, what I found to be the most challenging is the process of creating, because in the aerial world, in the circus world, it works very technical. They work from a place of this is the choreography, these are the technical moves, this is what we need to do to keep our flyers safe, and that is their process. And at the end, after it's created, in the last few days even sometimes, then the intention is added, then the emotion is added, the character is added. In the theater world, which is my background, and dance world, we begin from that place of intention. We have a character, we have text, we start to work with the the relationships between the two actors and the characters, and the movement sequences that we're creating on the ground come out of a moment in the text or a moment of emotional expression. And like Nikki was saying, we're working with the music in that same way. And so when we're building a very high level technical crazy aerial sequence, and we're trying to work from that place of intention, from that place of emotion, it can get dangerous. And that's really, I think, going to be one of the big things for our theater company that we are working on creating, is a technique that is safe and can be used in creating aerial and ground and story, because that was something for me that I really feel could use some work. The other very challenging part of this, and this question was asked earlier, is how do we arrive at the story? And we're still working on that, I think. Those of you who watched it today know Midsummer Night's Dream. Hopefully many of you Shakespeare aficionados know the story very well. Some of you may even be able to recite it along with us in certain places. But you'll notice the story is so different, and we're wondering if you got it, if you understood the story that we're trying to tell. If you understand what Puck's role is in our story, in our version, if you understand what the lovers are doing, can you tell that they're in a dream almost the entire play, and that they wake up at the end and find themselves in an earthquake in reality? There's all sorts of abstract parts of this story that I think the audience will take away. Oh, that was really cool, I loved watching it. But is the story clear? And this is why, in my mind, this has always been a 5-year project, because we're still mining for that. And of course, things like this online, forums like this, your comments are welcome. Even after our Q&A is over, we'd love to hear your comments. Email us, text us, Facebook, all of that, because this helps us. This is helping find our way towards the ultimate finished product of this.
Yeah, well, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but we had another question come in from Victor on Facebook, and he asked, will there be the Dream Project 4.0?
Hi, Victor. Yes, but we are not going to call it 4.0, because how many times can we, we're 10.0 right down the road. The next iteration will be the final product, and it will just be called the Dream Project. And the reason why is because we have done 1.0 in Mexico, 2.0 in New York, and 3.0 in Montreal. So we've hit all 3 of the countries that our company is from. So we actually have an equal number of company members from all 3 countries. And so we've done the 3 iterations in the 3 countries. So now it's up to us to find the Dream Project. What is the Dream Project? And so it won't be 4.0, it'll be simply the Dream Project. And we're hoping that that comes about in the next couple of years.
Awesome. Well, I did have a question for Kat and the aerialists, but I think it kind of goes out to the whole cast, and that is, what was the process of using your movement as part of the storytelling? So, I mean, for Ugo, as an actor, you can speak about what it was like having to do a lot of movement. I know I was in the room. You guys learned a dance for the storm. So what was it like to use, Elka, you touched on it a little bit when you talked about acting and being in the air at the same time. But there were some really long, beautiful sequences where we're telling a story. What was it like to use movement in that process to storytell?
Well, I think the first thing to start with is, before we even bring the apparatuses, the air, the aerial apparatuses into the room, just us as an ensemble on the ground. We're very viewpoints based. We start pretty much day one, day two of rehearsal. We're moving, improving with Nikki, with the music and so forth, of how to move together through the elements. We're working with the elements a lot in this piece, wind, fire, air, and how do they move us? And how do they move us as individuals? And how do they move us as an ensemble? And we start to cherry pick the blocking organically that comes out of that. Sorry, where were we again? What was the what was the question? Just like, how are we moving?
The question is, what was the process of using your movement as part of the storytelling?
Yeah, so point blank, Katie would give an element, we would move, there would be music, we would improv together, and the story would emerge. And we had the text, we had our characters, and the story would emerge. And then a silk would be lowered into the middle of the room, and then all of a sudden, whatever was going on the ground would start to lift up into the air. And we worked that way a lot and through a lot of the scenes when we could, especially the big numbers, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. We hear from Ugo as well, because Ugo, you were on the ground building these sequences as well, so it was a very different experience than what Elko was experiencing.
Yeah, for me it was, well, process one, I remember viewpoints, and there was a moment where we didn't have like the entire script, so we were working on the ground and improvising and doing things with the body, and it really helped a lot to go into the dream. This time we decided that we were part of a dream almost the entire play, so trying to go into the dream physically was really interesting and really exhausting as well. I also, in like, not about the storytelling but about me as an actor, it was really exhausting. There were parts where we were just running and running and running, and I couldn't imagine how I could even talk or do whatever, and so it was really hard to do it, but for me it was a way to grow deeper into the character and into the dream as well. So yeah, it was really interesting process for me.
Yeah, these guys worked their butts off every single day.
They did.
Let's see. Don't have any questions right now. I think I'll ask a question. Nicholas, what was it like to evolve the devising of the music with each iteration, with each version of the Dream Project? How did it change as the story changed, as the versions changed?
I think there's sort of two main lines, or two main answers like to that question. The first sense I get is that the show and the whole concept has, as Katie was talking earlier, has become darker as we've gone. So I mean, there's a definite progression to the way the process has happened in terms of the music. The first time we did it in San Miguel de Allende, everything was like, it just had like a lighter feeling to it, if that makes sense. And like, it was all just a lot more air to it, and the whole process was just lighter, and it seemed a little bit, I guess, more enjoyable in that sort of playful sense. And as 2.0 came around, I mean, that's when you realize how much creative impact the context can have, you know, because we were in New York City, and we were in a black box, in a dark room in Brooklyn, and that made for a darker piece and for like a deeper sense. And then 3.0 was another step in that direction, but trying to make it clearer. A sense that in 2.0 we just got darker for the sake of it, and in 3.0 we just we like really hit it on in terms of, okay, this is why we're going darker, and this is the story we're telling, and this is the music for that. So it's been kind of like a an organic process again, and like a one step at a time sort of thing. So I think that's one. I mean, one of the lines that has made it change every time. And this time around, I mean, 3.0, which is a show that we just saw, was the first time for me not being part of the actual live performance, if that makes sense. So the 1.0 and 2.0, the whole music was about me being there and playing everything live. The first version even included a song of me like singing live and taking center stage and singing my heart out. And it's been a process of gradually moving away from that to the point that 3.0 in its final version is I'm not even there present in the room at the moment, let alone on stage. So that was very interesting to see how what that made for the music. We had to pre-record a lot of stuff. We had to change a lot of things. The singing had to happen pre-recorded as well. So that was a different challenge, but I think it kind of makes the piece take a life of its own and sort of fly on its own, and it can now go anywhere obviously with the performers, but the music is not like that sort of necessity that it has to be there, and that gives the piece a whole different capability and a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
I should say something to that effect as well. Pino is our music associate, and he's the person that did all of the music live. So we did have a live musician. Pino and Nikki worked prior to coming to Montreal, and actually our whole entire team was working on the script the whole time that we were between 2.0 and 3.0. And so we spent a year in the writer's room, and Nikki and I on the phone working and FaceTime, working back and forth to create a lot of the script. So 1.0 and 2.0, the entire script and the entire piece and all the music was devised in the room. 1.0, we did it in 10 days. We came in with nothing, and we ended with an hour-long show. 2.0, we had 3 weeks. Same thing. We came in, we started over with some new prompts. We have about 2 months of emails back and forth with our company talking about what we're interested in doing, who we are, what we're doing, what's going on in our lives, and we start kind of having the dream dialogue. But in 3.0, the dream dialogue was essentially an entire year, because we were working on the script prior to getting to the room. So when we began the process of 3.0, we had 5 weeks of rehearsal, or 4 weeks of rehearsal and 1 week of show. We came in with a script, printed script, ready to go, people reading it. Yes, it got adjusted as we were working. Yes, the choreography needed to be figured out, but for the most part, at least half the music was written and the entire script and story was written. So it was more, 3.0 was more like a traditional production. You'd come in with a script already done. So the process for 3.0 was very different than the first two. So I think that goes along with that music question, because Nikki was in the room devising the entire script and score with us in 1.0 and 2.0, whereas 3.0, a lot of it was done prior. So
I'm going to ask, we have time for a couple more questions, by the way, everyone, so ask them now. So this is another question from Miles. Kind of goes back to the story, and we were talking earlier, Katie, about you wanted people's feedback and things like that. You mentioned some story elements, and Miles asks, what was the role and or significance of the child in telling this story?
Such a great question. Thank you. Okay, so those of you that know Midsummer know that the fight between Titania and Oberon is over the Indian boy. I have never seen a Midsummer Night's Dream where that was touched upon in a major way. It's brushed over by Shakespeare at the end. She just gives up the Indian boy and has no problem. She wakes up from her escapades with Bottom and the donkey, and he says, I have the boy, and she's fine with it. We thought that's not right. We thought this woman loves this child and it's being taken from her. And I myself am a new mother, and that came into the writer's room quite a bit, because if someone were to even come near my child and threaten to take it, I would not stand for it. I don't have the power to create an earthquake like Titania does, but there would be ripple effects here. So we really wanted to understand who the Indian boy was, who the child is, and what the child represents in our story. And we wanted to give Titania a voice about this child. So if you really pick apart, if you pull the threads out of just the dialogue between Titania and Oberon, and you look at what the boy represents, the boy is actually and historically what Shakespeare wrote is that the boy is the child of a king and a votress. And the votress died in childbirth and gave the votress and Titania were very close friends. And the votress asked Titania to take care of the child. And Oberon, the whole entire fight between Titania and Oberon is about Oberon being jealous of this child and jealous of Titania and her affections towards the child. It says that they've been fighting for a year and that she has adorned this child with beautiful things and loves this child. And he even tells Puck, that he is going to take the child because he wants it for his henchman, which is degrading. He's going to steal the child and make the child work for him. So we thought, okay, if this is an allegory of Titania's mother nature and Oberon is father industry and they're at war, what does that child represent metaphorically? And we feel the child represented rebirth. We feel the child represented mankind. And we felt that the child was an important key player in Titania's aftermath of the earthquake and the consequences that it could have on the mortal world. And if she could receive that child back and understand that the child was okay, then the world can have a rebirth. So it's not 100% clear yet. I think we're questions like that are going to help us really figure out what the next round of this storytelling is. But in my mind, that child is a very integral part of the story and how it's told. And then talk to me later about it, because there's a whole underlining story that we worked on for Puck that we kind of said that the child was represents Puck in a way, and that Puck was that the child was him, and he's looking back on his life from another standpoint, and this is how he came to be. In our story, that's how Puck played it, but that wasn't something we gave text to or anything. It was just something the actor Puck was working on so that it could connect him to the child and to the story.
Yeah, that was a great question. I have another great question, something I've wondered myself, from Darian, and I'd love to hear from Katie, but then I'd also love to hear the other panelists' opinion as well. Have you considered applying this unique staging to other Shakespearean plays? The fantastical aspect of A Midsummer Night's Dream lends itself wonderfully to this concept, but I would love to see other Shakespearean works adapted like this. So I think that's a great question for you, Katie. And then I would love to hear from the other panelists. While doing the Dream Project, have you ever imagined yourself like, oh, I would love to do this, but for this play or that play? Same for you, Nikki. So yeah, we start with Katie with the first part of it.
I want to do all of them. Every Shakespeare play like this. Yes, and I have one in mind. And I think pretty much everybody knows the one I have in mind. I'm hesitant to say it, but guess no one can see what's in my head of this play. But the Scottish play is something that I would really love to do, but I have to wait until we have the world's attention and a fabulous budget to do something like this. But I always imagined that as the next big play that we do. I've also thought of The Tempest. I think The Tempest lends itself very well to this work, with the fantastical elements of The Tempest. So I think that's kind of an obvious one, with the fairies and Ariel and all that. It doesn't have to be just Shakespeare. I've often thought that a huge Greek tragedy would be incredible in the air. I'd love to fly an entire chorus of Furies. I'm in love with Euripides and Aeschylus and all of the Greeks, and something I did for my thesis years ago. Shannon Stowe's watching. She played Medea, and that was incredible. And I wasn't able to fly anyone in that show. I was in grad school, but I would have if I was allowed. So I definitely would love to revisit Medea. And put the chorus in the air. I think once we carve out what this technique will be, and I think that's probably a lifelong pursuit, but as we get closer to how to move seamlessly between ground and air, and we get our Dream 360 workshop back up and running, and we start exploring these things and create that shorthand of how to mix these two disciplines, I think that the sky is the limit, pun intended.
Yeah. How about you actors? Have you had a show where you've been like, I would love to devise this show and perform this show Dream Project style?
I mean, maybe this is because Katie, I second what Katie said with, Mackie B and also The Tempest. Playing Lady M would be a dream role for me. And we work at the hip, so I'm feeling what Katie is feeling because we're talking about these things all the time. I think it would be great to see how one gets into the air, just like with the Dream Project. What is the intention to get up off the ground? Just like in a musical, when the big number song comes on and one starts singing, it's because it's at a big point of emotional release. It's kind of the same thing with the aerial. Why does one go into the air? So as a movement person, I'm really interested to how do we go from ground to air? How do we ascend? And then also, how do we come down? What's the reason why we come down as well?
That's great. How about you, Ugo? Have you ever had a show that you wanted to, like another Shakespeare, perhaps?
Yeah, obviously, the Scottish play was the first play that came to my mind, and also The Tempest was with the play that I did in school. So that would be also really cool to go back to do that play. And I guess, for example, when we were in Montreal, Evan, the guy who plays Demetrius, he said that he would love to do Hamlet. So when I heard it, it was just like, yeah, that would be really awesome as well. So yeah, I think those three would be the ones that I would like to do next.
Yeah, I like your answer, Katie. Of all of them, I feel like you can. The point is to the technique and then apply it everywhere you can.
Yeah, we're, like I said, this is a lifelong pursuit. Yonder Window Theater Company will be around for the next 50, 60 years or more. And we're working hard to try to make this technique something that everyone can access. Aerial training pending, of course. You need to be able to get on a silk and get on a rope or get on a new apparatus that's never been invented yet. But we're working to try to make that into a book someday, 10, 15 years down the road maybe, but those are our goals. I'd love to hear what Nikki wants to write. What music do you want to do? For what plays do you want to work on next?
I think we should do Troilus and Cressida.
Oh, great.
I love the ancient Greek side of it, and I think that would add like a very interesting musical world that could sort of come from that, and like Troy, and yeah, I just like that idea, and maybe using some sort of ancient instruments up on the stage, and I think it could be really, really exciting. Although, having said that, I think the Scottish play is the way to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unanimous.
Yeah.
I'm just going to
start
jump
fundraising now for that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump off of what Katie says and kind of mention, earlier this month, this whole team was actually together in person in Mexico, gearing up for our Dream 360 workshop, which we were aiming to explore what Katie has talked about, the relationship between ground and air, and building that technique. And unfortunately, we had to cancel because of everything that's going on right now. But cancel's the wrong word. It's definitely going to be postponed. And yeah, and it'll be a really great workshop bringing together people who are ground movers, aerialists, any kind of person interested in learning a new technique and learning to contribute to a new technique. So if you are interested in learning more about Yonder Window, learning more about the workshops and the productions that we put on, definitely go to our website, yonderwindow.co, and like us on Facebook. We would love to hear from you, just like Katie mentioned, your thoughts about the Dream Project, your thoughts about anything we talked about today. We really appreciate you taking the time to watch the production and ask us your questions. We're going to have to wrap it up today. I want to say thank you to Katie, Nicholas, Ugo, and Elka, and Katarina, who unfortunately looks like her Wi-Fi might have dropped out at last minute. But we're going to do more of these. Yes, you can still answer the questions. If you have any questions you can still ask them, and maybe we can do another one of these with some more members. We had a gigantic team on the Dream Project 3.0, and we wish they could all be here answering your questions. But shout out to them, and thank you. Yeah. I'm gonna pass to Katie if you have any kind of final words for our audience today.
I do. I first want to say thank you for supporting us. We are spread out all over the globe. We have team members in Australia at the moment. We have several people in Europe. We have, of course, all over North America. And the team is growing, and the patrons are growing, and it's really, it's exciting. I know that might be inappropriate to say during a time where we're all stuck in our home and we can't move, and theater is a time for us to celebrate being together, and this is what our craft is about, public gathering, and we're not able to do that right now. But this really is something that I think we can continue while we're waiting for theater to get back up on its feet. So I want to encourage everybody around the globe that's watching, and everybody that's a supporter of theater or a lover of theater or a doer of theater, to stay strong and keep creating. That's the most important thing. Use this time as a reboot for yourself, for your creative self, to sit down and read that book that you've been wanting to read, or write that poem that you've been wanting to write. Isaac, thank you for that amazing poem that you wrote us yesterday. To look at your creative selves and take the time to give attention to it, because that's what's needed if we're going to push back and get back on our feet after this. So thank you, everybody. Breathe, yes, breathe, everybody. And those of you that have kids, breathe and be patient. It's the hardest thing when you're stuck with your children for 12 hours a day. But they're little people too, and they need to create as well. The other thing I do want to say is that we are still planning to do our New York Teen Shakespeare Intensive. You probably saw several ads for this if you've been watching the whole time. We have no plans to cancel it as of now. We are actually still receiving registration, which is wonderful, so thank you for that. And we will continue to keep you updated on all of that, as well as hopefully put out some more broadcasts. This is the first of hopefully many. So stay tuned.
Great. Thank you all so much. We're going to sign off now. Have a great day. Bye.